Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another stream. My name is Gift. In case this is your first time you're joining, and I have this weekly streams every Thursday at 5 p.m. where I talk to developers, people in tech about different, interesting topics, projects that you're working on, and everything that revolves around their work and interests, right? And today with me, I have special guest Mustapha Rufai. Mustapha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Mustapha. I am a software engineer and a developer relations engineer. I'm currently at Paga. Um, so I do manage advocacy for the fintech. At other times, I'm a technical trainer at some other places.
Oh,
That's why I am.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. We have kind of similar rules, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I was just asking you about Paga before we even joined the call. So maybe that's something you would still talk about later on, while you give like presentation. But today, Mustafa is going to be sharing how to make developer documentation friendly for developers, like how to improve the developer experience for API documentation. So I'll allow him start by sharing a bit more about that with us. Good to go.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gift. So, our presentation for today is about improving the developer experience using documentation. Um, to start off, we are going to try to break down the idea of developers and their experience with the products that they use, and then how documentation comes into place to help the journey of those developers to use your product or whatever product you are advocating for them to play with. We will start by doing this stuff by saying who are developers. This seems like a non-question. I would define developers as anyone who is building something. So here I am accommodating um, both people who write code and those who don't write code. As long as you are building something, you are a developer. I want you to use a product or a service that I am advocating for, or you are primarily using any other service out there. Um, so developers are people at heart. They love to be cherished. Um, they are innovative, they are exceptional in their way of thinking, and they are collaborative with their teammates, with their computers, etc. like that. So these are developers. They like to make things simple, and they like to work in a seamless way. So now that we have defined our target audience, the set of people that we want to speak to, the set of people that we are interested in finding, we know that they use different kind of products. A developer working in the fintech industry would definitely be collaborating and integrating APIs from other fintechs, from other companies. It may be integrating with non-fintech products for communication, for logging incidences that are happening and events that are happening on the server, etc. like that. So it may be um, building feature products or just products for the company itself. They do and use different things at different services. So we cannot box what they do. We can only try to imagine what they do and try to advocate or make their life, make their process seamless in that process. So why would anyone want to use a service that you are offering to developers? They would want to use your service if you have a competitive advantage, business advantage, or you generally just make their life easier. A developer is just an average person. If he's trying to transport himself, he will definitely use um, something as seamless as Uber, Bolt, or any other transportation service that is easy to use around themselves. If they are trying to order food, they will do likewise. They will find the easiest way to do it. So they will use any service that makes their work easy. They will use any service that makes their process easy. So, since we have learned this about developers, we now want to look at developers from the end of the product that we are offering to. If you are saying that developers you use your communication tool to onboard their customers to your service or to their service, um, why should they use your service? Why should they consider using you over any other product that is out there? So, there are several considerations that these developers would generally consider, going from pricing to performance to um, acceptance, community acceptance, and then to community itself. A developer would consider using React versus Vue.js versus Angular based on community, based on the kind of issues that they may encounter and how quickly they will be able to resolve those issues when they encounter them, or the kind of help they can get along the way as they are using these services. So, same thing for if you are building a customer support system into their product. Um, they may have just a simple phone call service versus they want to use something like Talk to receive API calls and then to receive calls from anywhere, or they want to use something like Intercom, etc., like that, to be able to accept and reply messages supporting their users. Um, Same thing if um, they are integrating services, communication services, or let's say fintech services. Here in Nigeria, you find um, popular services that are competing for integration. So you will see maybe a Paga, someone is integrating with Paga to receive payments or send payments across Nigeria, or someone is using a competing service to do likewise. Why should they want to use your service? So, some of these reasons I have mentioned, community, help, performance, these are reasons, pricing, these are reasons they would factor into using services. But more importantly, is are they able to use the service? Once they have considered all these things and they have now decided, okay, I want to grow with this service, are they able to finally say yes? Picking your service, are they able to use it? Yesterday, something interesting happened. I saw, um, yeah, I saw someone who leads um, the peer, the co-founder of the peer, talking about using and companies investing in their API documentation. It means there is a stress, there is a blocker that is preventing them in the local term, in the short term or the long term, from using the API service of a company, of a brand, right? And the experience is starting from that documentation, the content that people will read or will consume to be able to understand these services. So the question is, are they able to use the service? Once they encounter your service in one way or the other, are you chasing them away? After they have considered pricing, considered community, are you by yourself chasing your developers away, your users, your potential users? What are you doing to accommodate them? What are you doing to make it easier for them to use your product? So I am going to talk particularly about how to keep developers happy to use your service. And I think the most important way right now, or the one I'm going to focus on, is documentation. Um, what do I mean by documentation? I will start by showing you a series of documentation. Here is strike documentation here. Another documentation that is out there is the Paga documentation. And there is one here from Ilarian, which is by African is Talking. Okay, what does the documentation have to do with customer experience and making your developers happy? Developer documentation is the first thing any developer would check out when they are looking at consuming an API. They want to consider the security around that documentation. They want to consider the performance of the API. They want to consider the community, the kind of questions that people are asking, and the kind of response, the time between when the question is being asked and when the response is coming, right? The documentation provides insight into that company and the product that they have at that particular time. So, to look at this documentation here, you will see that um, currently a lot of
Sorry,
things is happening. Yeah.
Mustafa, can you
I
zoom it? Zoom
Okay.
your yes. Okay.
Are you able to see now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So if you look at this documentation here, I just want to walk you through some of the features of this documentation that should be in every kind of documentation that you encounter, whether it is Paga here or this documentation from Ilarian or this one from Stripe. You will see that there are some things that are key and it is repeating. So let's look at here. So when you see this, you will see that on the right hand side of your screen, there are code samples, shells from Node, Ruby, PHP, Python, and you see a host of other languages. These code samples is useful for developers that just want to test out the API before they eventually go into integration or deployment, right? So first thing is, which is something I'll talk about later, this code sample that you're seeing here, we refer to it as the short time between mean ratio. Okay, so mean time to hello world. That is another way we refer to it. This mean time to hello world is essentially the time it takes me or you as a developer to land on a particular documentation, on a random documentation, and be able to test out the product or the service that that company is offering you, right? The time it takes, how long does it take for you to be able to do, okay, I land on this web page and I'm able to understand what this web page is saying to me, and I'm able to now test this service to now going to integrating or deciding to integrating. How short is this? The longer this time takes, the more frustration builds in this developer that is trying to use your service, in this person that is trying to use your product, in this team. Because if it is longer, it means that it is your process of documentation is not automated. It means that they may need to read multiple resources for them to get to hello world. Hello world in this case implies that for them to be able to test out your product, right? For them to be able to call your service and your service to return back to them. For them to get all the information they have and they need and have to be able to implement your service, right? So, one of the most important criteria for any documentation that is out there is this metric, which I refer to as mean time to hello world. So let's go back again to consider some of the other things that you will notice on this page. And as I've said, the features of this are very similar to what you're going to experience anywhere around the world. Same thing with Stripe that you're seeing here. You will be seeing their code snippets, and you can pick on any topic, and you'll be able to understand how that particular feature works with you, and you can scroll up, get the snippet, copy it into your piece of code, and then run it immediately, right? So as you can see, it works here. For the Paga API here, this particular endpoint is what we use to transfer money between us and third party. And as you can see on the left hand side here, on the right hand side here, you will see that we have a host of samples that you can use to just copy and then paste it directly. You can open your VS Code. Uh, yeah, so you can open your code editor. Doesn't have to be VS Code. You open your VS Code. As I have a VS Code editor here, and let me just copy this and see. Yeah. All right. I think we are good. I have it here. Let me have a new file here. Let me pick PHP. Right. All right. So you can see almost immediately. I would say the mean time to hello world here is um, less than 5 minutes, right? Between I am on the page, I have copied what I need, I am back here. Immediately from posting this, I can set up a short server. I can know that I need some credentials to pass into this for me to test the server and get the response immediately, right? This is very important because from here, your developers or your potential merchants understand what is required of them to be able to call the endpoint and to be able to use the service at different points in time. Another thing, another metric that is very important to use is the time it takes for your users to be able to reach out to you when they are get confused. Obviously, not everybody will be able to see this piece of code and immediately understand what is required of them. So they decide to reach out to you. And then when they reach out to you, how long does it take you or your team or your organization to get back to that person so that they can move on and complete this integration, complete this testing, right? The longer it takes, it still boils down to the adder, and the more stress is added to the process um, of causing bottlenecks for your users, for your merchants, etc. like that. So to summarize what I have been saying so far, the most important thing when you're dealing with developers is to understand that they are users, and your users want you to make their life easy. They want you to make their life happy. They want you to make their life seamless. Provide all the content they need in the short time possible, and provide it upfront. As you are scrolling through, you want to avoid these kind of things where people are complaining about your product. You can utilize any means to make your users test your product. Either it is directly on your documentation, like we have it here, like Stripe has it here, or you can use third-party tools like Snag if you are building third-party, or if you are building integration or demos, you can use third-party tools like this, or you can use something I really like, Replit, um, to share and collaborate with your code and have short-term um, code snippets that you want to share with your users, or with our universal GitHub. Those ones are there too, to demonstrate the code and have them understand what it is that your product is doing and how it is doing it. So you want to remove all manner of complexity between the user and your product, right? And if it eventually comes to the fact that they are experiencing complexity, they are experiencing bottlenecks, you want it that your team is able to support them in the short term possible. You want it that they are able to go to um, maybe if you have a Slack channel, many teams have something like that, or a Discourse channel, you want it that they are able to go to those places. Or if you have an open platform like here, where they can just have general questions dropping into that place, and immediately they drop the question, somebody is almost instantly replying them or giving them the kind of response that they need at that particular time. So um, don't forget again, the most important thing is to treat your developers as users, understand that they want a seamless experience, um, provide the content upfront, have demos for them to play with almost immediately, shorten the time to hello world, and if they ever reach out to you, make sure that there is a support person or the support team are agile, active enough to respond to them. All this cumulates in a very good experience for your developers and for the audience that you are building for. Thank you very much. Arigato. Uh,
That was really nice. See me nodding, even though I wasn't showing most of the time. It was a nice presentation. Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
I also agree with like most of what you said. Developers are first people. Like if you're building a product, you need to make sure that it's useful for the developers. And that's what you shared. I also saw it yesterday as well, and I was just laughing. Yeah. Um, you've gone through, I like how you went through developers first, explaining who developers are, right? Then going through developer experience and even showing us examples of how to make sure the experience for developers um, is better using examples like Praga's documentation, which was really,
Yeah.
really nice. You mentioned something that came up, and I was going to ask you, but I think you already showed me the answer. But I'll still ask you. So
Okay.
there's a thing where with so one thing about people, in fact, one thing about developers is the moment that they are looking for something and they cannot find it, like it takes them like 5 minutes to leave that and go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So let's use a generic example like ABC as a company. I'm trying to integrate their API into my application, and I can't get anything to work because their documentation is not very straightforward, right? So I wanted to bring up like the best way to integrate communication. So I know that people typically have Discord channels or Slack channels or Twitter, or even in the documentation itself, you can also leave like a message. I've seen that for some document.
Yeah.
What's your like from experience? What's the best approach to doing like the one-on-one, the communication? Like how easy has your experience been putting that? Like, do you get questions from people even though you feel like the documentation is great? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen quite good documentation. Um, like there was a time I was integrating. So it depends. One is if the product is open source, then you know that the support is going to be slow. You just have to rely on like good service or goodwill service
Yeah.
for general public, right? But if it's a paid service, right? Then as a user of that product, you have a demand because you are paying them, so you have a demand that when you request for support, that somebody should reply you, right? Or in the meantime possible.
Mhm.
So but then you now do this demand, and then it takes a long time for somebody to get back to you. So once it is taking that long, obviously you have somebody you need to report to, right? On why there is a lag in this implementation that you are doing. So you obviously will be considering, should I switch to another user? Should I switch to another team? etc. So I would say um, the one approach that's worked is um, the Slack Discord channel. I think
Mhm.
for some companies that have used it, that have integrated their system or product, I know that when I chat them on Slack, almost immediately they get the notification. So somebody is always popping up. So I have maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes difference in communication, and then it's not just for somebody's, maybe a team, like
Same.
a team, like maybe two, three people will just pop in, and then I can just immediately get them into a short 15-minute call, and then they can just share my screen, and we resolve the issue, or I clear my doubt. So I think the Slack Discord channel has really worked for me if it is a
Okay.
paid service. If it is not a paid service, if it's an open source product, Stack Overflow or any question and answer service is the best bet, because you probably won't see somebody that you can take their 15 minutes time to
Yeah.
get them answering you. Yeah. So Stack Overflow or any question and answer
Okay.
service generally
Yeah.
has been it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That helps. Yeah, when you were saying about paying for something and not getting the response, I've experienced that too, and it's not great, right? But it's always nice to have these channels where you can quickly reach out to the team to ask questions. Hey, why is this endpoint not working, or why is this thing not going well?
Yeah.
Someone asked a question about what's the easiest tools for writing documentation, personal API or a custom API?
Well, easiest so. I would not say easiest. So depending on different teams and their approaches. So funny enough, I am conducting a current research on this particular topic,
Hmm.
how different teams around Nigeria, Africa are handling documentation, right?
Mm,
So I'll just mention some of the themes and then the tools they use, and
okay.
you can decide which one works for you. So I
Oh,
know here at Paga we use README primarily for our documentation. So it helps us, it provides for us the code session to demo. It provides for us API referencing. We can do support on README. So README comes bundled with the Markdown. So if you
okay.
already use Markdown on GitHub, README comes with it. So I think it's bundled together like that. So that works. So we combine README with another tool, which is a CMS.
Hmm.
Both of them help us to present our, what's it called, our documentation. Same thing, similar. So Stripe that I shared earlier too is also using README. Um, Paystack goes the other way entirely. Paystack is not using README. They have this CMS called Craft
Craft. Yeah.
CMS.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think it's based on PHP. It's written in PHP or something. So Craft CMS is what Paystack uses. So it's like they built their own um, they built their own front end on top of Scratch.
Mm,
So they remove the current front end and then built their own like layer on top of it. So which is what the presentation layer for their documentation is. Flutterwave too. Flutterwave is using a combination of README and what's it called, and a CMS. But day to day, they have the custom stuff on top of it, so you really know that they are using like README. So there is M-Pesa in Kenya. So M-Pesa is like the mobile money stuff in
yeah.
Kenya. So they have this API product too. So in Pesa, you use your phone to send money. So, but companies can build fintech product on M-Pesa, right? So that product, that API product that M-Pesa has is called Daraja, right? That's
Okay.
maybe I can share my screen. So they
Yes.
have this. Yeah,
Because I'm just looking everything that you're saying
let
it.
me see
Yes,
if I
please
can
share
let me
your
share my
screen.
screen. Yeah. So they
Daraja.
have
Let
this.
me
I'm coming. Let me share my screen. So they have this Daraja, like this Daraja API. So this is the Safaricom, like their fintech products, right? Still coming up. So this one they built it custom, like they built their it's still, I would say it's a CMS, but
Okay.
it's in house. They built it by themselves, and it is what they are using to offer this service. It's taking a long time. So and then recently too, there is MTN Momo.
Mm.
MTN Momo is also a custom service. So what I'm driving at essentially is that different companies use different services based on the composition of their team, right? And based on like their own what their team is good at, right? The fastest way I would say is if you want to hit the ground running, just use Readme, right?
Mm.
If you don't have much time,
Is it
use
is it
Readme.
paid or is it free? Is it open source?
So there is so they have this WordPress kind of service,
Okay.
right? So there is the free version that you can download and host by yourself,
Mm.
right? Or they can host it for you. So that one is a paid version, right? As I said, there's a free version, there's a paid version, right? So I would say it's easier to pay them and then use their service, but you can also just download the source code, the open source version, and then host it on your own service and use it. So if you want to hit the ground running, like if you need documentation set up today, this is your fastest approach, right? Just use your free service, sign up, and get it going. But if you have time on your hand, um, you can build your own CMS service and bring it out. Like this is the Daraja I was mentioning. So they built their own stuff. So you see they have videos, and they still once it finishes loading, it takes time to load. So you see
Yeah,
like all their services and stuff, and API endpoints here. So this is custom. They did it in house. So you see that there is a primary difference between how this looks versus how this looks. So this one here is powered by README in the back. So um, another benefit of this here is that some of this code you can auto generate them.
okay.
um, you can auto README can auto generate them for you. But if you do custom, there is no auto generation. Everybody, somebody must write it for
You
you.
must write it. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody must write it. So,
Yeah.
but then if you have this API open schema set up on your
Yeah.
code base, you can also generate code from your APIs and stuff. So yeah, that is
That's great.
that
Okay.
answer that.
Cool. Hopefully Clifford answers your question. Is that Clifford's question? Yes, that's Clifford's question. Okay. Defines are saying what's the good average response time? Okay, that's related to the conversation we had about
Oh,
um
okay.
how long it takes for you to get the response back.
Uh, I would. The question is subjective.
Yeah, I think
It depends on you, your product, and what you are trying to consume, and the kind of content that they have, right? So the most important thing is if you are having blockers, are they able to unblock you almost immediately? So there is no particular time. We cannot say 30 minutes, we cannot say 1 hour. It is subjective. For example, if you are in the, let's say, Web3 industry and you're trying to build on top of a new blockchain, not this. So we know Ethereum is like generally accepted, Bitcoin is already generally accepted. But if a new one comes up tomorrow, right, and you are trying to build on those new one, even if they have the documentation ready, it will still take you longer to understand everything that they are doing, and then build your own product on their service. So it's subjective, right? And then it depends on you too. How much experience do you have in that industry? So if somebody that has been building fintech products for maybe 5 years stumbles on a fintech API, obviously he knows what to look for, and he knows how fast, um, how to find his way
Hmm.
around that
Yeah.
API, unlike somebody who is building the first product. So what I'm saying is it's subjective on a host of things, right? There is no particular time. The most
Yeah.
important thing is they should be happy. If
Actually,
we should find a way to make them happy.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Something I've also seen
Yeah,
is something called SLA, service level agreement, is
yeah,
whereby a company says specifically, oh, we are going to reply you if, for example, if you are using our transfer API and you have issue, we take typically 24 to 2 days, 24 hours to 2 days to reply to you if you send us a support message. Some people have that in their documentation. I was just checking and I see that Twilio, which is like a
yeah,
SMS, they have SLA. So maybe
yeah,
some APIs that are using already have this information. So you can just check so that when you're trying to reach out to them, you know expectations of time for them to get back to you or something like that.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. In addition to that, just like we saw with README, if you are using in some of the condition of the SLA is that if it's a free service that you are using, no, you won't get the you
yeah,
probably will get the
yeah,
response.
yeah,
Or they give like a dedicated, like special attention to those who are paying for the service. So that is
yeah,
usually also. So you should also read that too, so that you don't
yeah.
just reach out to somebody and then they ask you, "Are you a paid customer?"
Exactly. It's mostly paid customers, true, that get that because, yeah, in my
Yeah,
experience. But I think that with tools that we are seeing these days, especially the ones that are open source, they always would have a public discussion platform. Like, so bigger platforms, bigger services, you don't necessarily need to have answers from the team itself. They
yeah,
built a community around the products, meaning that if you have issues or you're facing blockers, you can just go to the community, put, and it's maybe somebody else, not somebody working there, but the person have probably also had that issue. So they would be the ones helping out. So I think it varies on the kind of products that you're trying to integrate. If it's open source, if it's not, if it's paid, if it's not, and all of that. Yeah.
yeah, and how collaborative that community is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that's just important.
That's cool. We have like a very nice comment from James Nelson. Says that your presentation is really nice. Ifeanyi says the
Thank you.
same. That we should do more of this. So okay, cool. Good feedback. I'll keep that in mind. Okay, yeah. I think maybe if anyone has more questions, you can put it in chat. But just want to wrap up the conversation about around the developer experience and documentation. So essentially, developer experience is making the lives of the developers easier,
Yeah,
right? And one way you can do that is through your API documentation, making it seamless for people to get started with, and all of that. Um, Maybe I should ask you one question. The Parga API. So, what's your? I don't know how long you've been there. To did you like start it off? Were you there when it started from scratch? Like, what were the considerations that you people had to put in mind before you started building it? You know, over time, did you like have to add some more integrations into it, or was it like
oh,
sustainable from when you like published it? Or
that's a
yeah,
very nice question. So I'm going to share my screen again.
sure.
Uh, Let me find it. Give me a second.
Just leave the
All
screen
right.
open. I'll be when it's time to remove it.
All right. So to start off, so initially the
It's not
API has always been existing,
okay.
right? Because internally, since it's a fintech, there is always need for APIs.
Yeah,
So for collaborations, for integrations with third party, we want to be able to send money to anywhere in Nigeria. So it means any bank in Nigeria, any fintech in Nigeria. So and the company has been in existence for about 12 years. So it has integrated with all fintechs in Nigeria. I would say all fintechs. There is no fintech in Nigeria that Panga is not integrated with. So so this API that has been in existence, some of them were now made open so that third parties can now build on us. Since we had already connected with everybody, we have this ecosystem already. So third party can now build on us, right? So the way we currently operate right now, we have a couple of APIs. Um, we have the Paga Collect API. So we have divided our APIs into these ones that you can see in the top bottom left.
Okay.
Uh, so we have the Collect API, which allows people to receive money from anywhere in Nigeria. So if you are trying to build like a wallet, like a cowrie-wise, where you want to receive money from any bank, from any fintech industry, yeah, this is the Collect API that allows you to do it, right? And we have this Paga Connect. So this one is like if you want to do subscription-based, recurring-based payment, you want to pay for Netflix, you want to pay for your power bill.
Mm.
Yeah, so we have you want to pay for Uber and then you are trying to like recurring payment essentially. We have that Paga Connect stuff that that is providing that for us. We have this business API. So you see, Paga allows you to do a lot of things. You can buy your DSTV service, you can buy any utility essentially that you are trying to buy. Um, Business API offers that. So if you want to if you are trying to build um how will I say it? Okay, if you have a platform, let's say you have a platform and you want Nigerians to be able to buy power, I mean PACN
Yeah.
electricity,
Yeah.
yeah, from anywhere, right? So they can connect to Ikeja Electric, Abuja Electric, Kano Electric, um, Just Electric, etc. like that. So we have already integrated with all these people, right?
Okay.
So all this utility is under business API. So we have also integrated. So all these utility services, we have them under the business API. So you can just connect to us and use it. So essentially, the API has been in existence by virtue of the kind of business that we do. It is
Mm.
just that we now made it open, right? So it has been open. I joined them after it has been made open, and
Okay.
so some of this API has now been matured enough, like it has been cleaned up and made open for users to now connect to us to receive payment, send payment, and do stuff around and do any fintech products or services they need to do around Nigeria. So some other interesting thing about the API is I think one of the strong point of the API or the collections of API, because now you can see
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
not
just one thing.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a collection of API of the is the security that is built into them,
Mm.
right? So like it's I, I would say it's like the most secure stuff I've used because
Okay.
there are so many levels of like layers of security built into it to protect your asset and your
Yeah.
interest, and then to protect our own asset and interest, right? There is a level that you need to do to connect to our server. We use that with the hashing and the IP whitelisting stuff, and then we have the conventional authentication to authorize that authentication to confirm that it is you we are talking to,
Mm.
and you can use our service. So yeah, that is the Baga API in
Interesting.
itself, and that's like the short history of the API. So we have had it. We needed to have it. You know, there's no way you'll be building fintech without
Yeah.
connecting with others. So all this API that was in existence, we now made it open so that others can join our ecosystem.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I know Pag. I've known Paga like even when I was in secondary school. That's how
Yeah,
long I've known it for. But I didn't know about their API or
yeah,
so that's why I asked that question if it's something new. But it's interesting to see like the overall history and how it looks today, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I think that will wrap it up now. It was a very, very good presentation as well as Q&A session, and I'm really happy that people in chat also felt the same. You people have like another 5 minutes to ask questions if you have questions, but I'll just say, Mustafa, where can people find you? Like, if they have maybe questions but they don't want to ask you here, where can they find you?
I think the easiest way is just reach me on. I'm not so active on Twitter, but if you find me here, I would respond one way or the other. Just find me on Twitter or find me on LinkedIn. I think I have a LinkedIn account somewhere.
Yeah.
Let me see. Twitter or LinkedIn, you'll find me in one of those places. Let me see if I can find the LinkedIn
To
the
be,
LinkedIn profile.
yeah, to be your
Uh,
first and last name, right? Yeah.
yeah, this is me on LinkedIn too. So one of those you'll find me and let's connect and talk. If you want to use our API or you just want to talk in general,
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
to hear
Mm,
from everybody. Yeah,
yeah.
so that is
Interesting.
me either way.
Well, thank you so much again. Let me bring this here. Thank you again for coming on the stream. This was really nice. Had a great conversation. Again, like I said, nice presentation as well. And I would leave, if you want to share the link to your presentation, you
Yeah,
share me out, then I'll put it in the description in case people want to like look at it again
all
after.
right.
Because yeah, the stream would be live, uploaded after so people can watch. All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Thank you everybody again for sticking around. Yeah, thanks Clifford. I will see you all next week. All right. Bye.
Thank you very much, Gift.
Yeah.
Bye.